And we're back. It's COMP397, week 2, lesson 2, part 3. And we have a little bit of a poll that I'm doing right now. If you want to try it out, it is, if you go to, if you text learn to 37607, tell me what is your favorite browser, right? What is your favorite browser?
I can't wait until
You can text, and you can also, Safari. We got one Safari going on.
so
We can also
fast.
do, you can also go to pollev.com/learn if you don't have a cell phone or other kind of texting device, right? What's your favorite browser?
Learn to this once to join, then okay.
All right. Let's see what we're going to do here. By the way, why am I putting this up? I have an underlying reason for this, right? Because I'm going to test you guys out just like this. We're going to ask some questions, right? And then hopefully you guys can come and answer, right? We got Chrome, Firefox. So far I've only got 3 respondents out of all you guys, which means you're not paying attention.
Can I just like expand this?
2? No. All right, what's your favorite browser? And then you text learn to 37607, or you can go to pollev.com/learn. I want your answer, please. Go. That means everybody, including you, right? I want to see how many people. What do you mean it's not working? Come on. You can go to pollev.com/learn if you don't have a texting device of some sort. Lots of people like Chrome, that's for sure. It's blocked, but here. It does, it does. Hey man, no one likes IE? Come on.
I'm trying. Son, go.
Ali's the best. Come on, Ali.
Go. It's not working.
377. Use pollev.com/learn. Hey, there's something. What if you go on both
Yes.
the site? Oh, there he's got IE, right? All right, we got IE. We got 7. So out of all you guys, right? Everyone in the room, I've got 8, 9, 10 people watching, right? The rest of you guys are sleeping, right? Come on, I want you guys to answer. It doesn't cost you anything, all right? What was that?
Whatever the stage error disappeared after updating the Typescript.
So you go 37006 and learn B?
No, learn. Just by learn. First you log in with learn, and then after you logged in, it'll respond you saying you're logged in, and then you respond B,
Oh, cool.
or whatever it would be. I'm just saying.
I mean, it's convenient, but it's not.
Only a couple Firefox. I got one IE, one Safari, one I don't know. There's no one who doesn't know, and no one who doesn't care. That's good. These 2 bottom ones are bad. But I wanted to see maybe someone doesn't care, right? I don't know who it's going to be, right? There we go. At least I got 17 people now. Okay, so this is good. All right, so the poll is going to close. The poll is going to close for a second. I'm going to, and again, I can enable and disable these things as I like. I'm going to add one more. Let's just do one more poll here. I'm going to create a poll, right? In JavaScript, you must use a semicolon after every command line. True or false? You guys kind of figure it out. Here's my poll. I'm kicking it off. Oops. Oops. And let's start it off. All right, got one false. Bunch of people saying false.
I don't know if I did it, so
I don't know, man.
nobody else is doing it.
I don't get A yet, so I don't got your A yet. 14, 15. Well, you guys are all on the right track. You don't need to use a semicolon. Should you use a semicolon? The answer is yes. It could cause some weird effects if you don't use a semicolon, right? So I'm going to do some of these instant polls with you guys. I've kind of did it today. I'll just close this off for now. But the idea here is that I'm going to be able to ask you questions. Now, the stuff I ask you here, when we get to next week, I'll ask you some more questions. If you're here next week and you're live, right? Are you alive, right? If you are, you can use the same questions I use. A lot of the same questions I'll put up on the poll will be used on your test, all right? So if you don't capture the questions for whatever reason, or maybe you can watch the videos and capture the questions that way, right? Some of them, not all of them, I will use for your tests.
One more.
All right, now that you guys have got your attention, you're alive again, right? I see some people have actually responded. They're not sleeping, you know, we don't have issues, whatever. Let's continue with what we were doing here on the side. So we've left off with our game loop, but this is kind of boring, huh? Like we've got our text, you know, whatever. Let's add some images, right? I'm just going to unbuckle this one for a second and go into, I want to download an image, right? So I need a button image, right? So let's do a couple things. I need a button image. I'm going to go button, right? If I go button, it gives me some buttons, some random images here in Chrome or in Google. I'm going to download a button. Sonia, you pick which one you like. Tell me. So I got to pick someone. No, you got to tell me which one. You come up here. Come up here and tell me. You point out which one you want. Come over here. Come on. It's no pink. That's easy. Let's just do that. Pink button, right? All right, what do you mean? Oh, and then you tell me which one you like. Pink button. Which one? Right? Come on, Sonia, pick it up for me. This one here. Okay. All right. Big applause to Sonia for coming up. Come on. Wake up, guys. Let's go. Let's go. Big applause. Sonia, thank you very much. All right. Okay, this button. I want to use this pink button, right? Because Sonia likes pink, right? Let's do it. So I'm going to go here, and how do I get this thing? Of course, I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to save image, right? And I'm going to put this inside my on my desktop somewhere for now, right? Let's put it on my desktop, and I'm going to call this button my pink button, right? Pink button. Dot pink, right? Okay, cool. So I've got my pink button. Now, from a browser tool perspective or tool perspective, this is where my pink button is, right? I want to add this into my project, right? Well, the only way that I can add it in so it's registered, right? And I'm just going to pull this aside so you can see. I'll make it a little smaller for you guys here, right? Is I need to use Solution Explorer. This is the only way without adding an existing item. You can go File, Add Existing Item. You can do that too. But the easiest way, I should say not the only way, is if I take this image, this pink button, and if I drag and drop it inside my images. So if I go like this, boom, boom, right, as long as I'm not debugging, I can do this. I've got my pink button now, sorry, Sonia's pink button, inside the images folder, inside my assets folder, right? If I double click in Visual Studio on the button, right, I actually get this monster, right? Monster! It's huge, right? It's a big ass green button, right? Oh, sorry, pink button. I'm blind. I'm blind. I'm blind. How big is this thing anyway, right? I know you guys are killing yourselves. Kill. Anyway, at the end of the day, when you look at this thing, this big button, right? And under properties, it tells us a little bit about it, but not much, right? Now, I've done a couple of bad things here, right? One, I've dragged and dropped a button that I don't know how big it is, right? If I really want to know how big it is, I could always go to my folder here, and if I look at desktop, and if I just hover over it, if I go to hover, right, over my button, it tells me that my button is 297. It's huge. It's going to take up my whole screen. By 298. It's massive, right? It's a massive button that Sonia made us download. Right? All right, well, you know what? This is cool and all. It's too big. So I'm just going to drag and drop this into my courses file for now. So my courses, these are all my courses, but this is shared, so I can go back on my other side for a second. So here we go on my other side, on the Mac side. Now you can use any, I'll say like this, any editor you want, right? Obviously the Visual Studio Editor is no good. I'm going to use Fireworks for the first time with you guys. Here's my Fireworks. I'm going to kick it off. You can use GIMP. That's definitely a tool you can download for free. We talked about tools. I'm going to say GIMP. GIMP is the free online kind of editor you can use. It's a graphic manipulation program that's free to do what I'm doing. It does it a little differently, and there's a ton of tutorials out there to help you download free tools, to kind of make this thing work. But here I am in Fireworks, and I need to make my button smaller. Now, there's a couple things I can do. I can certainly take my button, load it into Create.js in JavaScript, and use code to scale it down. Why is that a bad thing? Anybody? Why is that a bad thing for me to scale it? What do you think is a bad thing for me to scale things with code? What was that? Pixelate, not really. But why would I do it? Why would I not want to do it in code?
You're basically saving the file, making the necessary.
That's right. So I'm still loading this monster in, right? This 300 pixel monster button, this pink button, right? That's going to kill me. It's going to choke me, right? It's 300 pixels wide, right? I'd rather manipulate all my stuff outside of my game and then bring it inside of my game after, right? Then manipulate it with code, because code's going to take cycles and it's going to take memory. So it's going to take a bit more time to load. So let's make this button something like, I don't know, maybe 80 by 80. There's different ways of doing that. I'm just going to use a graphic manipulation program here to do that, right? I'm going to shrink this down to 80 by 80. Let's say approximately. And if I'm not really accurate, I can always go down here and make it 80 by 80, right? Numerically, just down at the bottom. And now I need to get rid of all this white space, so I'm going to modify my canvas, and I'm going to trim my canvas. There it is. So now it's 80 by 80. Let's make this a little bigger for you guys. Ooh, whoa. A little bigger. And if you notice, I've got a transparent background because I'm using a ping image. You can use a ping image, you can use SVG, whatever you want, but you want a transparent background for your button, right? Or else you'll see like white or black or whatever the button's surrounded by. Okay, I've saved it. I'm going to save my button. There it is. And now I can leave Fireworks, go back over here where I have my button, my pink button, and I want to include it again. I want to write over the one that I had previously done, right? Go to my Solution Explorer. And by the way, I'm going to update my GitHub in a second, so you can always download my button from GitHub. So you have the exact same one I have, all right? So I'm going to go pink button, I'm going to drag and drop it into my images. It's going to say, do you want to overwrite? Yes, I do, right? And now that I've done that, I'm just going to go into GitHub, Team Explorer, so you guys have my button asset. I'm going to go to Home, Changes, added pink button image, and commit. Once I've done that, I'm going to go to Home, Unsync Commits, and Sync. And when I'm synced, now you guys can go up to my GitHub and grab the button. All right? Okay, it's cool. I've got my button. But you know what? There are very bad practices around loading all my assets step by step. Like every time I file access, it just takes time to load up my assets, right? So the way we want you to load it from now and on, right, is by using a preloader, all right? How do we use a preloader? What is a preloader? Well, let's find that out. Here's my pink button. I want to go back to Create.js, but I want to go to Preload JS. Here's my Preload JS. Okay, if I actually can spell it right. Preload JS. And I want to go to my documents. On my Preload JS API documentation, I see that there's an example here of how to create a preloader right here. And if you go to Preload JS, right? So what this does is it allows me to preload my images and sound assets, right, before I use them, as opposed to create file access for my images and assets, right? So I want to do that here. So before I use my button, right, I want to preload it into my code. That requires me to do a couple things. I need another function to house this kind of code here, right? So if you don't know your API, if you don't know how to preload, and if you forgot, you can go here and get this done, Okay, a couple things. And here's where we're going to get in some modification of our code again. All right. So here's my init function. So before I do this, before I create my stage, before I do all this stuff, I want my preloader to be kicked off. So this is where I'm going to go in here. I'm just going to unbuckle this one for a second. I'm going to go to function. I'm going to call this preload, right? And I'm going to create another function, right? Now we already have the preload functionality because I've already got it as part of our library files. Now there's going to be some modifications you need to do to not get errors because our version of TypeScript and JavaScript is slightly different. The type definition libraries for our framework is weird. But you know what? Once we do this the first time today, right? You'll know how to fix it for yourself. Okay, so that's the first thing I want to do. I want to preload. And I want to follow this precept, right? So I want to go back to this code here. And I know it says var q is equal to new create JS LoadQ. Q doesn't mean anything to me. I think I like to call it assets, right? Something like that. That's what I'm preloading, right? So I'm going to create this in our game framework variables as a global variable. So I'm going to go var assets, right? And I know that it's a create.js dot LoadQ is what I'm making, right? So I'm just creating a reference to this right now, right? So I'm creating almost like a container for all of my assets. That's what I'm doing here with my LoadQ. Okay, this is cool. Now I've got to instantiate this thing, right? So I'm going to say assets, right? Just like we did last time, is equal to new create.js dot LoadQ. Right? Are you with me? Any errors so far? No. Okay, here's where we're going to start getting errors. All right? We're getting errors because, again, versions of TypeScript, JavaScript, blah, blah, blah. You're going to see it. Don't panic. We're going to fix them. Right? And once you fix them one time, you fix them for good. Right? Next piece. It shows me that I need to install this. This is where we get the error. Right? Q.install plugin. We need to install the sound, or we're not going to be able to have sound in our queue. We want sounds to be preloaded for sure because sounds are big, right? So let's do that. So we'll say assets dot install plugin, right? And in here, we're going to get the error. Just be warned. Create.js dot sound capital S, right? Okay. And if you notice, let me go back to that. Sorry, let me go back to that example. Sound here looks like it's correct, right? This is the API documentation. But here, we're getting an issue, right? This is not a problem, right, with the function, the library. This is a problem with TypeScript. TypeScript, remember, is our helper to help us do code hinting. It's not an issue here. What we need to do is I need to go into my Solution Explorer, right? And I have a type definition library, right, for my preloader, which is right in here. I need to go in here and change, right, my type definition library. This is just a definition from all my libraries, right? And if you notice, right, what am I changing? If I go back into my game.ts, this install plugin is what I want to look at. So if I go Control F and I start typing install, I see my install plugin. Here it is. And what data type here? Because remember, this is create.js. Oh, sorry, TypeScript. What data type is it looking like it's returning? It's got this weird plugin, and I'm returning this any data type. Well, I want you to change it. It's actually line 161 inside the Preload JS.d.ts file. I want you to change this to take away this part and just make it any. It's kind of a cheat, but it works. It's a hack. That's right. And now, do I get the error? No. It's gone. That error is gone, baby, gone. Right? Well, now you didn't see me? Come on. Preload. I want to go into my install plugin, and I want to take away that stuff and only show any. All right? Because that's the type that it's looking for. It's looking for any type, any kind of plugin now, as opposed to something that returns any, an object of any. Okay, that's the first thing. Okay, so we got by that error. Let's do the next errors. Minor stuff, by the way. If you're not used to doing this when you use an API, then you're going to learn. Okay, now we need to do this event handler, this on. Whenever you see on, it means it's an event handler, or event listener, sorry. On complete, so when we complete loading our manifest, when we finish loading our manifest, then we want to do something. Well, that's easy. I want to go to my init function. That's what I want to do. When I'm finished loading my manifest, when all my assets are loaded, I want to hit my init function now, right? Okay, cool. So assets, so it's going to be assets.on on complete, then init. Let's do that. So assets.on, and then we're going to listen for the complete. When it's complete, then we're going to go to the init method, and we're going to pass in the context, this as a context. Don't worry about that for now. Okay, cool. But that means that we're starting with this preload function, not init, which is what we've got here in my index.html. So we've got to change this from init to preload, because that we have to, preload first and then initialize my game, right? So we're doing this in the index.html file. Okay, cool. So far we're good. All right, so I've got my, so once we're finished loading, then we're doing this. Okay, what are we loading though? So let's go over here. Okay, the next piece. Load file, blah, blah, blah. Well, I don't want to do this. That's definitely not what I want to do. I don't want to load anything from a file. This is one way you could do it. I want to do this load manifest thing, right? So I'm going to go here and grab this thing here, this whole thing, just for a second, right? I'm going to modify it. I'll show you what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to go back to here, right? So I want to kind of put this in. It's not Q that I'm loading, but assets, right? I'm loading a manifest, and here I can put in a path to my image. Well, my path to my image is my pink button.pink, right? So I'm going to type that in. Now it's got to be in the same order. So it's going to be assets / images / pink button, if I can spell, .pink. And I want to name this thing, so it's not my image. Let's just call it pink button, right? This is like an alias. This ID is an alias for my pink button, right? That's all I'm doing. This is my manifest. Okay, cool. So I'm loading my manifest. I'm accessing my pink button, right? And then after I'm done loading, kick off the init function. That's what it's doing. All right? If everything goes well, I haven't made any changes yet. I should be able to run this thing and no errors. I should get my hello world. Yeah? Let's try this out. Run. Hello world. Okay, let's just check errors on my console. So more tools, JavaScript console. Do I have any errors? No. This is a good sign, right? Just to make sure I'll refresh. No errors. I need to not have errors. If I have errors, it's bad at this point. I'm checking one thing at a time. Whenever we make a change, we've run that change to make sure there's no issues. Okay, this is good. That means we've preloaded all this little asset we made, this pink button. Now we want to use it. Where would I use it? Which function? Am I going to use it in init? No. I feel like I'm talking to my kid, right? No. Am I going to use it in game loop? No. Am I going to use it in main? Yes. This is where I'm going to put it. Anything I do, this is where all my main stuff happens. It's in main, right? And I want to load it onto the stage, just like I did my hello label, right? Which means I need to make another global game variable, which we're going to call pink button, right? Or my button. Let's just call it pink button, sure. If I can type. It's of type what? This is a new type you've never seen before. CreateJS.bitmap for now. It's a bitmap, right? It's going to be an image. Okay, get ready for some more errors. So here's my bitmap, and now I want to use it, so I'm going to go down into my main. After this thing is loaded, I want to go down here and say, okay, what is it called? Well, it's called pink button. My pink button is equal to what? A new createjs.bitmap. Okay, cool. Let's open up the bracket for my constructor. What is it looking for? An image or URL, a string, an HTML image element, an HTML canvas element, an HTML video element. These are all the things it can take, right? Okay, cool. Well, I want to use my button, this one here, this thing I defined up here in my my manifest, right? Cool. Well, I got to do something like this. Assets dot get result, right? And in there, I want to call it pink button, right? Okay. Here's the error we got to fix, right? What's the error that I'm getting? It says my create.js abstract loader get result value any raw result is of type object. Okay, but really what I'm looking for, right? It says as argument of type object is not assignable to parameter of type string. What it's looking for is a string. I'm giving it an object. So what do I have to change in my d.ts file? Hack. This is where we're going to go back to hacking again, right? Let's go back to there. So I'm going to go into my preloader. Here's my preloader, and this is where I'm going to do this return result, or I'm going to search for it. So I'm going to go Control F. So I'm going to type in the word result, right? Or sorry, return. Is it return? I can't remember what it was. Get results. I'll be all right. Get results. There it is. And look what it's returning. It's returning a type object. Well, you know what? It can either be an object or single pipe type string. Right? If it's an object or a string, it's good for me. I'm happy. That's what I'm telling this. And I'm changing the line number 46 inside my preload js.d.ts file. Okay, once I've done this change, right? If I go back to my game.ts file, right, as an example, and if I've done it correctly, still got that error, right? Did I save it? It's amazing when things work at home, but they don't work here, right? But what I'm saying is it's either an object or a string is what it's taking back, right? And what I want is, in this particular case, it's returning an object, right? Either way, it's good. It's expecting it to, it's one or the other, my get result, right? But the thing that's listening for it is my bitmap, right? Just do one more hack. And my bitmap is in my easel.js, right? If I go to easel.js, right? This is .t.ts. I'm just going to move this up forward. We're going to fix our error so we can run, right? And we're going to search for bitmap just for a second. Here it is. It says my constructor takes an image or URL or a canvas, you know, whatever it is. But see how it says image, my property for my image is an HTML element, an HTML canvas element, an HTML video element, and so on. These are all good things. So this is what my display object is for my bitmap. So any one of these is fine. If I go back to my image.js, assets.getResult.pink button. That's the right way to do it, by the way, right? It says argument of type string or object is not assignable to a parameter of type string. See? It's listening for it to be a string type. That's what it's waiting for. But I'm giving it either one or the other, right? Because my parameter, this, what it's listening for, my bitmap, needs to be of type string. That's what it's listening for, right? Okay. So, even though it says that, let me just take away this for a second so you guys can see more. Even though it says my constructor can take that, here's my or string right here. But if you notice my image, right? Let's try doing this. String type. It's one of those. I love it. So what am I doing? Am I really making a mistake? Like, what am I doing here? The d.ts file, to fix this problem, right? The d.ts file, what I'm doing is I'm changing the way Typescript is giving me my code hinting. I'm not changing my libraries. My libraries are staying the same, right? So if I'm in my preloader, if you notice my get result, so here's my get result again. My get result is listening for a value of any, right? My raw result is Boolean, and I'm returning, this is what I'm returning here, an object or a string, right? if I was just to put string, if I was to take this away, so I'm returning a string, right? So I'm rewriting it. This is bad because now, I mean, it might make my problem go away, which it does. See how it does, right? But that means that if ever I get to get result again, and it's not a string type that it's returning, I'll have a problem. I wanted to avoid that, but for now, for us to carry on, let's leave that. Let's change our object type to a string, and we'll be good to go, right? I'm only making this change so we can run our code, right? I'm not making this change because I want to break anything. All right, so now you should have that line gone. Okay, so what all this is doing is translating this pink button, which is just an alias for this. That's what it's doing, right? So I'm saying, hey, load this pink button that I declared up there after it's been preloaded. All right, are you with me? Okay, now that we've done this, I want to do the same things to my pink button that I did to my label. Let's go a little quicker now. So pink button, right? And I want to make it so that the reg X and reg Y are defined. We're going to use our pink button dot get bounds. This is a different method, get bounds, right? And we're going to get the width of the get bounds, right? And we're going to multiply that by 0.5 again, right? So half the width. Get bounds is our method to say what's the bounds of my object, and I want to get the width property of my get bounds method. All right, same thing with my reg y. I want to register my x and y coordinates here. Here's my pink button dot get bounds dot height, and I'm going to make this 0.5. Right? So now I'm moving the registration point from the top left corner of my button to the middle of my button, so I can move it around exactly where I want it. Right? Okay, cool. Now I want to put this button underneath my label, right? But in the middle. So my pink button dot x coordinate is still going to be 160, because that's the middle, right? Because that's going to move the button across the screen to the middle, right? And then I want to move the button down the screen, right? Below 220. But remember, my button is 80 pixels tall, so I probably want to move it somewhere down 40 pixels down, approximately half down. So that way it doesn't collide with my label. So let's say 50 pixels down, so move it to 270. If we're right. Okay? So that's where it is approximately. And then stage.addChild, right, pink button. If we've done everything correctly, we should have preloaded my button. I've bypassed this little bit of an issue, right? And now I'm able to run this thing, and we'll see a pink button in the middle of my screen. Oh, just below my hello world. Let's put my hello world a little higher, right? You should get approximately what I'm getting. Hey, here's a question. How come my button is on top of my hello world? I added it after. This is correct, Ali the Great, right? You know, the reason why is because every time I add something to stage, if I go stage.addChild, the stage is a display list. It's an array, all right? A list of images and objects that I'm loading into my stage, right? It's a big list. Okay, cool. That means the order that I load things in is the layering order, right? Unless I otherwise specify. So if I want to put my button underneath my hello world, I've got to add it first. Okay, for now we don't care. We just need to move it away from hello world because our button is going to be different than the hello world. All right, so let's just kill this and kill this. There we go. And what I want this is, I want to pull my hello world a little higher, so let's put it up at 200. Let's say that should do it. Let's try that out, and I'll refresh. Maybe a little bit higher. See how my trial and error is happening? Let's make it so it's 190. I'm just pulling hello world a little higher now. There we are. Okay, cool. Now my button's not doing anything, yeah? Right? Okay. So I want my button to be clickable. And the way to do that, as we're running out of time, is to create an event listener, right? So we're going to do this. We're going to say pink button dot on. Remember, that's the way we do event listeners. on what? On click. On click, I want to do my pink button clicked event, which we don't have right now, right? Okay, that's why it's giving me a squiggly line. But we're going to add that over here underneath our stage. So we'll say function pink button clicked, right? And you know what? Just to be secure with what we're doing, I want to actually pass in a variable, because the variable happens whenever it's an event type variable that happens, and we want it to be of type createjs.mouse event. Right? We won't need it right now, but eventually we will. So just pass that in for now. Okay, so we're calling the pink button clicked event. Whenever I click the button, I want to click it. Let's just, for now, let's just do a console.log, which we're going to say clicked, right? Every time I click the button. Okay, if this works well, and if I run this thing, I'm just going to refresh, right? And if I go back out to my button, here it is. Let me go back to my JavaScript tools here. I go to my JavaScript console. Here's my game is running. If I click the button now, every time I click, it's going to just increment that it's clicked, right? So it's working. That's good. But it really is not showing me anything, right? It's not showing me anything. It doesn't show me any kind of feedback that's being clicked. Well, you know what? Let's add a couple more events. Let's add in pink button dot on mouse over, right? And then we'll do a pink button mouse. Maybe we'll call it big button over event. Okay. And we'll do another one. Pink button dot on mouse out, and we'll do a pink button out event. Okay. A couple more events here that we haven't defined. Come up here, right? Function, and we'll say pink button over. And when we hover over the pink button, I want the alpha transparency to change to give it that weird effect. So I'll say pink button out. Pink button dot alpha, that's a new property you haven't seen before, is equal to 0.8. What is that doing? It's making that it's 20% transparent, right? Okay, cool. Well, I want to make the exact same thing for that's when I hover over. When I hover out, when I move away from the button, I want it to change back to 100%. Otherwise, it'll stay at 0.8, right? So I wanted to use the same thing, but instead of pink button over, we'll call this one pink button out, which is what we named it. And we'll make this that the transparency goes back to 1. Okay, let's check this out. If we've done everything correctly, and I refresh the screen, that's just that little change, right? Let me just refresh. When I hover over the pink button, it gives me that little transparency effect, right? So it looks like I'm getting feedback that I can click the button now and do something. Okay, 2 more changes. I know we're running late, but no one's chasing us. 2 more changes. I want to add some sound. When I click the button, I want it to make that button sound. How do I do that? Well, remember, I have my, I'll just kill this. Let's kill some of these things because we don't need any of this stuff right now, right? What I do need is I need to go to my BFXR. Remember my BFXR.net? Because we did that. That was one of our tools I showed you. So if I go to Games, BFXR, right here's my BFXR.net. I want to do a button click, like a pickup coin sound, right? No, 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 too long. I like that one. Okay, let's export the wave, right? I'm exporting the wave file. Pickup coin 14.wave. We'll call this clicked.wave. That's the sound. I'm going to put this on my desktop again, just for now, just to keep it simple. Here's my clicked wave sound. All right, and again, I did this on bfxr.net. You can do the same thing if you want, right? Now what I need to do is I want to take this sound file. First of all, let me stop debugging. I want to take this sound file and add it into my manifest, right? So here's my desktop, right? And I want to have that, my file, where is it? I probably passed it. It's got to say clicked. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Clicked. That's the one. And what I want to do is over here, I want to open up my Solution Explorer and pin it so I can see my audio right? And I want to be able to take my my click sound and drag it into my audio. That's what I've done here. So that's what I've done. I've got my audio in here. It's called click.wave. And now I want to add this into my manifest. Well, my manifest only has one thing, right? If you notice, it has this pink button thing here, right? And that's not what I want. I want to add in another one. So I'm going to use a comma. I'm going to take this whole line here, right? Copy it, right? And go in here. And instead of pink button, we're going to say clicked. We're going to call it clicked, and it's going to be assets.audio.click.wave. Right? That's what it is. I'm just defining that, taking away the last comma there, right? And what is now, I've created an alias for my sound that I'm preloading called clicked. All right, cool. Now I want to make it happen. So when I click the button, instead of this click thing, let's get rid of this console. I'll say create.js.sound.play clicked. Okay, right? Oh, if I can spell properly. And if this works, if I've done this correctly, right? If I preload everything, if I preloaded it right, when I click this button, right? It's good, right? So you've got everything. You've got sound. Just to recap before we end the day, you got sound. We've preloaded our images. We've done a little bit of text, right? We've done 3 different types of event handlers, right? We've got one that's a click event handler, one that's a mouse over, one that's a mouse out, right? And we've got sound that comes with our click event. Any questions? What I'm going to do is I'm going to go and put this up on GitHub, so you'll have my sound files, right? And everything that I did today, I'll say added sound, right? And I will put this up on GitHub for you guys so you can see the files, so you have everything that I have. But otherwise, that's it for me. Next week, I'll give you your first assignment, okay?